What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena here on a Wednesday night. And can I just say it is the kickoff eve edition of the Sports Arena because tomorrow football is back and we are oh so thankful. The NFL season kicks off tomorrow night. We've got such a great show tonight. So much to talk about, so much to get into. Give you all a little rundown of what we got going on here. Of course, we're going to talk about the legacy of Sue Bird. We're going to talk about Donovan Mitchell going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I got to talk about the Chicago Sky and the Connecticut Sun because it is game five. It's a do or die. Winner will face the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA Finals. And then, as always, we got our pick 'em. You got to pick one for tomorrow night, whether it be the Buffalo Bills or the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. But let me go ahead and get the crew in here. As you can see, I got my Queen of Hoops, Miss Megan Price, along with Blue Hawks 13, Sideline Sports Home, Mr. John Shear. Trying to figure out where Mike is at. I'm sure he'll join us momentarily. But good evening to the two of you. What's going on? How are you?
Doing really well. How are y'all?
Oh, I'm great. I this is like Christmas is almost here. We're a day away, a couple days away from the opening day. It is just
We are down to hours, John. We are
ready. And
down to
tomorrow,
hours.
not only is tomorrow a special day for the NFL, but other things amongst, sideline sports as well. Just saying, there's plenty of good things going on tomorrow.
All right. Well, I'm sure at some point we will get into that. But let's go ahead and get started with our first topic here this evening. And it is, in fact, we are going to talk about the legacy of one Miss Sue Bird. Arguably, in a lot of people's minds, she is one of the greatest of all times within the WNBA. She played a total of 20 seasons with the same team, the Seattle Storm. Now, this is a woman who, 42.9% from the field. She was almost a 40% free 3-point shooter for her entire career and pretty much had at least 5 to 6 assists every single game this woman played. Megan Price, I'm coming to you first about this because I know you've got a lot, but talk to me about the legacy of one of the greatest who we are truly going to miss in Sue Bird.
Well, first off, kind of hated to see it in the way it did within a loss and two back-to-back losses at that. In game three, we saw her hit a three-pointer that probably should have sent them into a game five situation. But unfortunately, on the other end of the court, somebody else made the goal and they went into overtime and they got beat by Vegas. And then last night we saw Sue Bird hit a layup and with a few seconds to go, once again, Vegas came back and answered. So, it just wasn't quite enough at the very end. And let's just talk about what we actually know about Sue Bird. Like, what are the common go-to facts about her? She has 4 titles, 333 wins. She's a 13-time All-Star. She's a 5-time gold medalist. She's a 2-time NCAA champion. She's an 8-time All WNBA, 5-time first team, 3-time second team. She's the all-time assist leader, and she's a part of the WNBA 25 team. But I think her legacy reaches.
Megan, my apologies. You can't put all those stats back to back to back, and we had to have a mic drop moment. But please continue on. My apologies.
No problem at all. And I actually feel like her legacy is going to reach past what she's done on the court. Now, I still feel like basketball will probably always be a part of her life in some way, some fashion. But as we know, her wife is Megan Rapinoe, who is a part of the United States national women's soccer team. And she was a big part in getting them equal pay. And so I don't know about you guys, but your partners, when they have something that they work really hard towards, I know most of us probably support, help, and do anything that you can do to help your partner. And I'm sure that goes hand in hand with someone who is also a female athlete. So also, she came out in 2017. And so kind of showing that it's never too late to live your truth. She was mid 30s when she decided to come out. Also, for the Nuggets, she actually worked for the recruiting department in their scouting, and so obviously she scouted guards. Pretty obvious there. So just showing that she has a vital role not only in the WNBA but in the NBA as well. And then I think most of all, her and DT's legacy will always be intertwined with each other. I don't think either one of them's career would have been what it was or is at this moment without each other. Now they are former teammates from UConn in their college days, but they went on to have a fierce rivalry within the WNBA, but still maintain being best friends. So I thought that was huge, and I think that they just constantly challenged each other and furthered each other's careers. So that, for me, that's what Sue Bird's legacy is.
Yeah, I really can't. There's not really much more to add on except to say to have the ability to watch her greatness, live and in person is something that truly you have to. If you haven't, if you didn't experience it, you truly missed out. Because listen, to all of the greats, and we could run down the list from Rebecca Lobo and Lisa Leslie to Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, and the rest of the WNBA. So many, Sylvia Fowles, of course, I'm gonna throw her name in the mix. So many greats, but there was something about Sue Bird in 20 years. You know what I mean? It's something that we could definitely equate to a Derek Jeter, if you will, and other players who, through everything, through the ups to the downs, through the good, the bad, they remained loyal to their team, to their craft, and just every single year we got to witness a true great in her own right. Sue Bird is someone who will truly be missed from the game on the court. I, like you, Megan, feel as though off the court this is the next chapter. And I shared this story once before, and I'm going to share it again. Last year at the WNBA Finals, when it was in Chicago, I happened to be there, and I went out afterwards to a restaurant, and I get up to the rooftop, and who do I see but Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird? And I just had to do something. It was just, I was like, look, this is Sue Bird. I'm 15 feet away from this woman. And so I bought her and Megan a drink, and it was just, my way of being thank you for everything that you have done, not only for the game of basketball, not only for the WNBA, but just for little girls who had someone that they could watch on TV and revere and admire. And she did it her way. I agree with you, Megan. I would have liked to seen Sue Bird go up against either Chicago or Connecticut, and we'll get to that game here later on tonight. In the WNBA Finals, ideally, of course, everybody at the beginning of the year, when we knew that both Sue Bird and Sylvia Fowles were going to retire after this year, the matchup that people would have wanted to see, which I think would have drove a huge crowd, would have been Seattle versus Minnesota, to watch two greats go at it on the biggest stage one last time. I think that would have, just been epic. But again, everything that she has done, and to go out the way she did last night, I think she held a lot of emotion in, but I'm sure once she got to that locker room, everybody, whether you played against her, whether you played with her, you respected who she was. Let me turn it over to my man, John Shear.
Man, you almost got to wrap it up, B. You almost got a Mike Cartenuto thing. Like, you were this close to getting one of those. I just want to let you know.
Circus clown.
Thank you. By the way, 12-time All-Star, not 13, because this year does not count for Sue Bird, because that was a gimme one. So whenever I write my book about, about sports and taking people out of the Hall of Fame and things
John,
like that,
no,
I'm going to take one away whenever I write my book.
You are not.
As a joke
John, you are not going to do that. John, you're not going to do that. You give that woman her flowers tonight.
12.
That's what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, 4-time champion. She stayed with her team for forever. got to give her credit. You mentioned she played at UConn. Well, everybody played at UConn, it seems, from college to the WNBA.
Not Candace Parker. She did play from UConn. Not Courtney Vandersloot. She did play from
I was
UConn.
about to say.
UConn. So yeah, like I was thinking about this, and if she had the career she had, and she was a man, she would be getting a lot more love from the media in her farewell tour. For some reason, she's just not getting quite the love that she should get after the career she's had. So I feel like she should get more love, but I guess that comes with how much attention is paid to a sport. So yeah, it's baby steps, obviously, but she does deserve more props than what she's been given, in my opinion. Like the media is not really doing her justice, and that's just how I feel about this whole thing. Is not really doing justice to her or any of the other that are going out. Candace Parker. I mean, no, not Candace
Candace
Parker.
ain't leaving. John, why are you spreading rumors tonight, man? Why are you spreading rumors?
Yeah, I don't know, John, like that. Okay, the Mercury gave her own set of tennis shoes. Minnesota gave her a denim jacket that was embellished. Like every single major
I'm not talking about
that I saw.
I'm not talking about
no,
that.
but I'm saying
New York
like
did the same
about
thing.
the national
ESPNW,
media.
They're all
National
talking about
media.
it. Now, don't get me wrong, they didn't talk about it until last night, but they did talk about it.
If this was LeBron James, this would be on every front page. This would be on every ESPN, like the front of every ESPN site. Everything be all LeBron James. And
Okay,
she's
John,
had a hell of a
career.
question.
Did you watch TV today? How much TV did you watch today?
Well, I was at work all day.
Okay, I'm all right. So therefore, I understand where you're coming from. However, I can tell you that ABC, ESPN, NBC, and CBS all did their due diligence in honoring this woman this morning. Okay? Let me just go ahead and put that out there.
It's not the same thing as covering her whole retirement tour, and I agree with what you're saying, but I think that this is a step in the right direction. Is it not where it needs to be? But I think it was I definitely think this was, it came at a good time when a lot of people were talking about the W. And so why not talk about the great Sue Bird?
Right.
Why not? Of course.
Mike Caratanudo, sir. Welcome to the show, my brother. Talk to me about the legacy of one Sue Bird.
Thank you. Yeah, I figured out the internet, so I knew you'd be proud. Anyway, no, look, I mean, I know you guys started in the whole UConn thing, and one thing Gino Auriemma always says, when people said UConn won all the time, and obviously, I mean, Stewie's her teammate, but in recruiting these young women, I mean, look at that. He's like, they're gonna earn their spot. They're gonna earn their jersey. They have to have it in them. I can know all about the game, but Sue Bird, I mean, epitomizes that. And as do, and I know when John said everybody went to UConn, and I get what you're saying, Eric, but that run that UConn's on, I mean, you look at, when you look at the W, between UConn and Tennessee to start off the league, there was obviously a ton, but what she did in college and then to carry that into a pro, and then for her and DT to both be 5-time gold medalists. I mean, you look at that in two national titles, three WNBA titles, and then you get 5 Olympic gold medals. It's a phenomenal career, and to be a point guard and then to lead in assists. I mean, over 3,200 assists, and I know Megan, you touched on that last week. I mean, we touched on it all year, but I mean, last week, just saying how she played the game. And I mean, Eric, you said it perfectly. I mean, she did it, her way, but having that greatness in them to stay to, be with Seattle again, you're saying playing 20 years. It's awesome to see athletes go out on top when they always say, father time always catches up. Do I think she could have played another year in Seattle, would have been right back in championship position? Absolutely. And like we said last week, Eric, is a pretty selfish, being selfish and a fan, why are you stopping now when your team's like that and you can do that? But look, she wants to move on to the next step. And again, I mean, I just remember watching her even back at UConn and watching those games and just God, and you see what they've done. And I think Becky Hammond summed it up beautifully. It's it's the same thing with Serena. We want to win, but you don't want this to be Sue Bird's last game. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. That's what Becky Hammond was saying. And it was just, It's a phenomenal career. I mean, and again, to start, like John said, to start at UConn when again, Eric, when we were growing up, I mean, it was UConn, Tennessee, and Stanford. I mean, out west got thrown into that mix because of Tara Vonderveer. But it was UConn and Tennessee. If you were the cream of the crop in high school, you were going there. And both like Pat Summitt, Gino R.M., as we know, made them better. But Sue Bird had it in her. And like Megan said, I mean, the Flowers, and it should have been talked about more. And I see John's point, but yesterday and today, yeah, I mean, John, you can't beat it. Last night and today, it was all over the place. So again, hats off to Sue Bird, and it sucks that it didn't end in the finals. I mean, win or lose, it would have been cool to see it in the finals.
I agree. All right, let's keep it moving here tonight on the Sports Arena. I want to move to our next topic, and it is Donovan Mitchell is now in Cleveland. Two guys left the Utah Jazz for a bunch of draft picks and basically Utah rebuilding. So, John, let me come to you. I need to get your thoughts on this, man. What are your feelings about Donovan Mitchell now in Cleveland, and what does this mean for the Cavaliers?
I don't know what it means because I tried Town Raylan a while ago. I still need to see it from this guy. We've seen him play really well as an individual, but I really haven't seen him. I haven't seen his coming out party. Like, I haven't seen him dominate for the playoffs and carry his team to the promised land. Like, I need to see this guy do that. For me, you know, he's already, 4 or 5 years into his career, and I really haven't seen much of that in the postseason. We know he's a great player, but for me, once you're a great player in the postseason, or the regular season, I need to see it in the postseason. I haven't seen that yet, so for me, this is a snooze fest. I really don't care. This is more to me about Utah is getting stronger. They're on their way to relevancy in about 4 or 5 years. Like I said, Eric, last night, when all these teams are gone in the West, when Golden State's dead, when LeBron James is gone, guess who's going to be there? Rebuild mode, ready to go. Yes, the Utah Jazz. So, 4 or 5 years. But, I mean, Cleveland, the East is loaded with great teams, Miami and everybody else just right below them. So, I'm not even worried, snooze fest. Like, bring it Donovan Mitchell. Like, okay, you'll make your team the 4th seed. You're still going to get your butt kicked in 5 games.
How many chips Utah got, John? How many chips they got?
Look, I have a theory.
I'm waiting.
Cleveland has one.
I tried telling Eric this last night.
Utah.
In about 4 or 5
Utah's
years, with all these draft picks, they're going to start their rebuild. Golden State will be dead. LeBron will be gone. All these teams with all these stars now
Golden State
gone.
Will be dead. No.
Steph Curry will be gone in 5 years. He'll be gone. Okay. And when Steph Curry's gone, that dynasty's dead.
Okay, and the thing about we're not talking Golden State right now, but they have a couple of players in place that are ready to take over the legacy. Like, they just in development.
You don't take over Steph Curry. I'm sorry.
You don't. I agree.
And then Steve Kerr actually has to coach. I just don't see it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Okay. So
we had this conversation.
Can I go next?
Please, Megan. But just really quick, we had this conversation last night on the flagship show, Sideline Sports, and I tried to explain this to John Shear last night, but he still wants to talk out both sides of his neck and run his lips. I said, right now, the Golden State Warriors have Steph, Clay, Draymond, but they are setting themselves up with the team that is currently, you could call them the bench, call them the reserves, whatever you want to call them. But that team is set to just continue the dominance of the Golden State Warriors after they leave. But Queen of Hoops, I'm turning that over to you.
Okay, so I had to look at the Cleveland Cavaliers roster real quick. Now, I think what we're talking about when we talk about Donovan Mitchell, and I got to agree with John here, is we haven't seen him really come in, stand into, shine in the light as far as postseason play. Like, what Utah is known for the last few seasons is being one of the best teams in the regular season and adding up to nothing in the postseason. Do I think
Who does that sound like, by the way? Who does that remind you of?
I know you're taking a shot at the NFL. I know he's taking a shot at.
Who does that remind you of? Does that remind you of Andy Dalton when he played in Cincinnati?
I thought he was going to have to.
I did not want to talk about Andy Dalton.
No. But I'm saying, look at the correlation. You're great in the regular season.
I feel you. But I think it's going to add up differently in Cleveland. Like, do I still think they need a big star? Absolutely. And I think that Donovan Mitchell is not that guy. I think here's your number 2 option. But when you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers roster right here, first off, they had some issues with Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. Like, who are they going to pay, basically? You were almost getting the exact same player. Who were you going to pay to stay? Because you're not going to pay both of them that type of money. So they were able to move Sexton within this trade. He got his deal was restructured with Utah. So he's making his money right now. So it was a good move for him as far as money-wise, but he's not winning a thing in Utah. Garland really earned that position last season, and we saw them do pretty well. Now, they went through a lull during the middle of the season where there were some injuries, and they fell. But when you watched them at the All-Star game and the festivities there, we knew that the Cavaliers had some pieces right there. Evan Mobley, he's going to be something special within the league. Kevin Love, he's getting older. I would have said it was time to retire, but he had a season last year that was not necessarily remarkable, but on the upturn. Same thing for Ricky Rubio. Ricky Rubio went to Cleveland and revitalized his career. Now, he was hurt. Give it. So we'll see how that goes. And then you got Karis LeVert. I'm a huge fan of Karis LeVert. So love to see him shining over there in Cleveland too. Then once again, Donovan Mitchell. And then UT, we got Jared Allen as your center right there. Would have loved to seen him come to San Antonio. Don't mind seeing him stay in Cleveland and get paid because they paid him good money to stay in Cleveland. Kind of reminds me of the Boston Celtics team that actually won that championship or was competitive for many, many years within that segment right there. You didn't have somebody that was just a major big star. Now, KG, arguably, but not necessarily superstar level. Is Cleveland missing a superstar? Yes, but are they able to be really competitive in a very competitive East right now? Absolutely, with Donovan Mitchell, I believe so. But he's not your number 1 option. You're still missing that.
All right, so before I go to Mike, and then I'll give mine as well. Megan, if I had to hold your feet to the fire right now and say, you have to give me a position of where the Cleveland Cavaliers will be in the playoffs, what seed will they be in right now?
The 5th seed. 5th seed.
Okay. All right. My thing about Donovan Mitchell is this, and I really thought about this, before we came on here tonight on the Sports Arena. And really quick, I just want to show a lot of love to people in the comments. Shout out to our boy AB, to Matt. Yes, Denzel, as you know, John is forever talking reckless. And Jahan, you say the 6th seed. I was actually saying maybe the play-in tournament, somewhere in that 7 to 10, just because I'm not sure of the chemistry. I'm always a big, how are they all going to function? How are they all going to be a cohesive unit? Because there is a level of, we need you. We're bringing you in because we feel you are, as Ray Lynn likes to say, our sports reporter without pay, a complimentary piece. Megan, I will completely agree with you. I don't feel he's that number 1. But sometimes if you get a bunch of 2s and 3s and they can make it work, well, then you don't need a 1 because the sharing of the ball and, just the cohesiveness, which I still have yet to see. But listen, Donovan Mitchell, the guy he's not a scrub. He's 44% from the field. He's 36% from 3-point range. He averages, 4 rebounds, almost 5 assists. So, he definitely has the potential. Denzel, you saying the Cavs will be a 4 seed. My brother, you need to be drug tested. I'm going to have to jump on the gauntlet and remind you of just, you still down there in Houston, man. Why don't you worry about the Texans for a minute? Stop worrying about this. But when I think about Donovan Mitchell and I think about the impact he's going to have in Cleveland, it's like we stopped, the majority of us, I'll say, those of us who, focus on the teams that actually, as our brother Alex always says, are relevant. I never saw Cleveland relevant without LeBron. So maybe Donovan Mitchell will change my mind, but I don't think so. I give them in the play-in tournament because the East, John, the East isn't really loaded like the West is. The East has Brooklyn, Philly, Boston, Miami.
Milwaukee.
Thank you, Mike. So yeah, that's why I say maybe the play-in for them. But
Yeah, you
Chicago
gotta
still
throw
has to
Chicago.
find a way to stay healthy.
No,
If
but
Chicago stays healthy,
of course, when
I
you
think
have
so.
these conversations, you have to assume that they're going to be healthy in these.
okay,
these
fine.
you know what I
All
mean?
right,
Like,
and
we
you know
don't
what, John?
know.
If Chicago's healthy, I'll put Chicago ahead of Cleveland.
Of course.
I'll put them at.
Oh.
Yes, I would put Chicago ahead of Cleveland.
Okay,
They have
did
a
they?
lot
Shake your
of
head
Did
all
they,
you want,
did
bro.
they
I know
re-sign
football season
Vooch
starts
though?
tomorrow.
Did they re-sign
I'm
Vooch
sorry.
though? Did they re-sign
I
Vucevic or no?
I have to, you know what, Megan? That's an excellent question. I will get that answer while Mike is talking to us about Donovan Mitchell and the impact of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Eric, first, before I start on Donovan Mitchell, I just want to say thank you for at least saying I should be able to defend myself last week, because these three other circus clowns, as I called them in our messages, making fun of my videos, which were fine, but whatever, there was a little glitch, and they are circus clowns because I do have an iPhone. And all you in the comments, like Eric said, I booked your comments. I booked the people in the comments yapping away about my phone, getting a good laugh. So I'm glad you got a good laugh. That's fine. Either way, and John's mean for making fun of glasses that a little 3-year-old gave me and wants me to wear. So John's the Grinch. Anyway,
Thank you.
first of all, Cleveland, Eric,
you.
by the way, nobody mentioned who should have been Rookie of the Year, Evan Mobley. Yeah, Pac-12 player. That's what I'm talking about. Nobody mentioned Evan Mobley. Donovan Mitchell, did we forget the bubble? Like, those months off, Donovan Mitchell, outside of Murray, was like the fourth best player. And look, did he get along with Rudy Gobert?
The bubble was a different. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did he get along with Rudy Gobert? Again, they're trying to win games, and maybe Donovan Mitchell doesn't have it. Who was Donovan Mitchell's point guard his first 2 years when he started to bud? Oh, that would be Ricky Rubio, who isn't a scorer. He came here to the Suns and started making Devin Booker. Obviously, took him off the point, and we saw the scoring Booker. Now, Booker's got the talent. I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell's Devin Booker, Eric. What I am saying is, like, Ricky Rubio's that guy. He's gonna get people involved. And to Megan's point, yeah, Kevin Love maybe retired, but now you're getting next to a young Evan Mobley, who should have been Rookie of the Year. Sorry, it's not because
I brought up Evan Mobley. Thank you very much.
I can't stand you. Well, no, but I'm saying right, but I can't stand USC. But I'm just saying, kids should have been Rookie of the Year with how they battled that whole. Remember the whole first half of the season, we're saying, man, this team, they're in the 4 seed right now. They're probably not going to stay there 4 or 5, but. Look,
and they have his brother. They signed his brother too.
Right? Yeah, they did draft his brother. Yes, absolutely. And so, and we'll see what he does. But Evan's a stud. You put him next to a guy that all we know he is a rebound. Kevin Love. You put him next to Kevin Love, and again, does Kevin Love have to play all 82 games with that young lineup? No. Can they be fresh for the playoffs? Absolutely. So if Ricky Rubio is going to get Donovan Mitchell involved, and
I forgot about them being teammates. I forgot about that. That is a nice. They're going to have a little bit of Jill together right there.
Because Ray likes to give me a hard time when I'm not here. So yeah, because John and Ray say I don't know what I'm talking about. Everybody forgets Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio were teammates. Look, all I'm saying is, Eric, I like Cleveland. I'm not saying they're above Philly. Look, Brooklyn's the head case. Do they have the talent? Yes. Is it going to stick together? I know you dealt with Ben Simmons. I'm not even making fun of you, Eric. You had to deal with Philly had to deal with that mess forever. If he plays and Kyrie plays, they're very formidable. I like what Philly did. I like Milwaukee. Boston's going to be Boston. I think they're right there. John, the one thing I will say that you said that I liked is Danny Ainge. Again, he is great about getting draft picks, and even if they don't have to draft players, he'll make trades to get players in there. So Utah's it's not going to be like this last few seasons where these fans, they're probably going to struggle a little bit this year in the West, but Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland, Eric, I like him as a 5-6 seed. And again, I'm not completely in Denzel's court where he's saying the 4 seed, but look, if Brooklyn slips up, I could see Cleveland taking that 4 seed. And I'm kind of with you on Chicago. I still won't put Chicago above them, even if everybody re-signs guys, but dude, I love Donovan Mitchell. I think being away from Rudy Gobert, being back with Ricky Rubio.
And yes, Megan, to answer your question, Vooch did, in fact, he's still with the Bulls.
So,
good.
So
that's a good
Cleveland, to get the 4 seed, would have to be over either Philly, Miami, Boston, or Milwaukee. One of those teams to get to the 4 seed, which those teams are far and away better.
I just said Brooklyn. Do you really trust the whole head case?
Boston was only good one half of the season. Let's be real. Boston was. I mean, they were important. They were good the most important part of the season.
But Megan,
Cleveland is nowhere
so you
near
can't
Boston.
ignore that, Megan.
Come on. Stop.
You can't ignore
ask
that.
Eric
Like,
question.
they were
Eric,
not good the first half of the
Eric, this is a
season.
you
So
question. But
I
Megan,
don't know
answer
what
this.
pedestal you're putting them on, but I don't
Yeah,
have
but,
Boston.
What?
okay, but Megan, answer this with how
I don't have
Boston's
them there. I don't
She
care.
started the sip off early, a day early?
with how
I had
let the
I had a
sip
little
off?
wine.
Okay,
hold
that
on,
makes sense.
hold on. With how Boston played the second half of last season and how Boston's played the last few years being a playoff team, wouldn't you consider the first half of last season a fluke how they played and not the second half because they do have the young talent and it is Boston?
I don't like them.
Yeah. I just don't see how Cleveland's anywhere close to.
I didn't realize
the top of
the
those four
Celtics moved to
teams.
Cincinnati, Megan. I didn't realize the Celtics moved to Cincinnati.
They might as well have. No. I don't know. I think they have problems finishing. And I think that, you know how y'all said that about overachieving. And I think that maybe Boston overachieved a little. Now, don't get me wrong. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 years in a row. And I do think that they're building upon that. But they don't have a dominant center. They don't have a dominant center. Even Jarrett Allen, who is really meek and mild-mannered, is more dominant center than anything that Boston has going on. So I feel like that Boston's the better team at this moment, but I think Boston is flawed as well.
All right. So we're going to stick a pin in that because when the season 3 of Megan Price's NBA carousel comes around, I'm sure this conversation is going to be one that's going to be continually talked about. So we're going to make sure we keep that going. We're going to take a real quick 20-second break. When we come back, yes, we are going to discuss something near and dear to my heart. It is, in fact, Game 5 of the WNBA divisional round, semifinals, if you will. It is the Connecticut Sun versus my Chicago Sky. Back in 20 seconds. And welcome back to the Sports Arena on a Wednesday night. Your man, Eric Wilson. Hey, like I said, NFL starts. We are going to get to the game tomorrow night, the kickoff game. But before we get to that, like I said, we're going to talk about this. It is Game 5 between the Chicago Sky, the reigning, defending, undisputed 2021 champs, going up against what Coach Kurt Miller is calling a messy series, if you will, with the Connecticut Sun. So, John Shear, I'm going to come to you first, sir. You got to talk to me about this series. Give me your thoughts, and then I want you to tell me who you think is going to come away with the victory tomorrow.
So far, I mean, this series has not played into the Sky's hands at all. The Sun clearly are looking for revenge because the Sky did the same thing to the Sun last year, went into their house, they knocked them out. You know, and when you do that, and the Sun were obviously the better team going into that series, the Sun want revenge, and they want to do the same thing to these Sky. And I kind of think that they're going to end up doing it. Like, I just have this feeling, I'm sorry, Eric, but what I saw from the Sky getting blown out.
What you apologizing for?
Because you're going to be upset. You're going to be upset when your team gets their butt kicked.
Don't act like you know my feelings. John, don't act like
you're going to be all in your feelings, drinking your feelings
yourself,
away,
John.
When the Sun
speak, John. This is what I need you to do right now. I'm gonna need you, John Shear, BlueHawks13 on Twitter. Make sure you follow him and please tweet at him because he will tweet you back. But what I'm saying to you is, don't speak for me.
Okay,
you do you. Speak your own truth, okay?
Don't be all sad face, sorrow. You know, pouty Eric Wilson.
John, what do I always say? If I lose, I man up, okay? But when I win and everybody else goes into hiding and I can't find y'all and I got to put out APBs and everything on y'all. See, that's the problem with people like you sometimes, John Shear. See, y'all want to talk about, Eric's going to feel
roll
this
that
way,
clip
Eric's
of when the Cowboys stomped your Eagles live on this show and your hat went down over your face and you sunk and you're like,
John, hold on. No, John, that's a whole nother scenario. That's a whole nother situation.
Okay, all right.
That's a whole nother situation, bro.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. The Cowboys and Eagles rivalry, that goes back to that's timeless for me. Okay. And listen, WNBA should be the same. And I am a victim of, unfortunately, not paying attention. I'll admit that. But speak your own truth when it comes to tomorrow. Okay. And Denzel ain't winning the whole thing. All right.
Hey,
So
these Aces are unstoppable, man.
okay. All right. If they
They
were
could very well
unstoppable, how come they
clean
didn't sweep
sweep the
everybody?
WNBA
How come
finals. That's how
Dallas
good they
took
are.
them to a game 3? How come Seattle took them to a game 4? If Aces are supposed to be this great team, they would have swept both teams, making their way to the finals.
They're in the
Don't sit here
WNBA
and talk
finals, and that's all that matters.
Okay, but John, my point is, if they're supposed to be this dominant team, shouldn't they have swept?
Whether
Dallas
they get
took them
there
to
through
a game 3, John Shear.
Whether they get there through a sweep or
Okay.
No,
five
no,
games,
we took Connecticut to a game 3.
Oh, you did?
And I think
My apologies.
Yeah, I think that speaks a lot to Connecticut right there. John, are you done? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
He's
please,
done, Megan.
please.
Oh,
Go ahead, man. He done.
Okay.
I ain't trying to hear him.
Don't speak for me.
Trying to speak for me.
Okay. Well, I do think that Chicago's going to come out on top in this series. I'm just going ahead and start with my prediction right there. And I think that a lot of people forget that Chicago was the number 1 seed most of the season. And while Vegas did take that number 1 seed, they have the same record. They were basically tied. It's just that Vegas had the tiebreaker for that number 1 seed. So I think that that's going to play a big factor into the finals, but that's a whole different issue right there. But Chicago swept Connecticut in the regular season, which I know regular season is completely different than the playoffs. And I do think that Connecticut is exposing some of the problems there in Chicago, but I feel like Chicago is deep enough. I think that we are seeing CP3 just throw up some ridiculous numbers in year 16. And I think we're seeing her kind of get back into her groove. Now, last game was a little rough. As we know, is a pretty big deficit, but Chicago is incredibly deep. And I think that while Connecticut is exposing some of the problems there in Chicago, I just don't think that they're tough enough to make it to that next stage. Now they don't have that postseason experience, and I think that's going to be a big factor in Game 5. Now, if the Sun is able to make it to the finals, they actually beat Vegas once this season. But I'm with you, John or Jay. It's a one-way train to Chipville there in Vegas. So they look dominant. They look strong. I just don't know how you beat Vegas right now.
I hope they enjoy it because the Raiders aren't getting one.
Okay, you know what? You're done. Mike Carattino, please go.
Well,
I can't listen to him.
Eric, what Connecticut did last night, I couldn't believe. I kept looking up, and I'm like, this has got to be a joke. Like, even because I recorded it because I was at my game, but nonetheless, I was like, they're just taking it to them. I mean, Chicago, I like the interview of who it was, but why'd you come out? I don't know. We're relaxed, but we're playing way too relaxed. I mean, Connecticut had 6 players in double figures. And like I said, the summary I heard of them a few weeks ago, we talked about it. They were like the quietest 25-win team, second best record in the league. They had the 3 seed. Like, they just kept winning. They were consistent all year. Not that Chicago wasn't, not that Vegas wasn't, obviously. But, man, you get 6 players in double figures, and I know I'm not really splitting the atom here for anybody, Eric, but you get 6 players in double figures, you're going to win a game. You have 2 – your first half, you basically have almost 2 – you have a 30-point quarter, a 28-point quarter. Can a team shoot the lights like that out again? A lot of times, obviously, doesn't happen, but – look, Chicago obviously has the grit. They have the team. Coach Wade obviously better than all of us. He doesn't seem like much of a yeller, Eric, but I'm guessing there was probably a little yelling in the locker room, and then probably at a walkthrough today or a practice today. So do I think Connecticut can do it? They were kind of my team that I thought of if the Mercury weren't going to make it to the finals. I like Connecticut to do it, but it's going to be a tough battle because that's one thing. Champs or not, a team like Chicago gets beat down like that throughout history. Eric, how many times have teams come back and crushed the team or lost that game? So Connecticut's got it really stacked against them.
Everybody good? Just want to make sure everybody's good right now. John, you okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Swung on and hit in the air to deep left center.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Eric's Rant. As I always say, I'm just a loud mouth with an opinion. So whether you like it or not, here it goes. Listen, it is game 5 of the WNBA semifinals, and the champs are at home hosting a team that has physically played to a level that a lot of people hadn't seen. Okay. The Connecticut Sun are a physical team. That's what they are. Coach Kurt Miller, like I said, called it messy. It's a messy series. It's what it's been. That's what I expect it to be. They knew their backs were against the wall. And now Chicago has to play with that same intensity, that same fire that they played with in game 2 when they lost game 1. This is going to be a knockdown, drag out barn burner for all you WWF, WWE fans. But make no mistake about it. You put the Chicago Skies back against the wall, and let me tell you what's going to happen. Experience is going to show up. Shooting is going to show up. Transitions are going to show up. Okay? This is game 5. This is an opportunity to go back and face a team that a lot of people don't realize. See, Vegas and Chicago, they got mad history. And I'm going to get to that when it happens. But make no mistake about it. The Chicago Sky understand what lay before them. Coach Wade said they needed to clean up a couple of things. And guess what? They're going to clean them up. Allie Quigley spoke about it in the post-game press conference. She was the one, Mike Carratuno, who said they are relaxed. They were playing with a little bit of a relaxed feeling. Dana Evans just wants to get out there and do her thing. So I hope her involvement in game 5 is more than what I've seen this entire postseason, because she is a quick little spitfire. And I think if you match her up against Courtney Williams, there's going to be a track meet going from one end of the floor to the other. We know Candace is going to be Candace. I'm telling you right now, if Allie Quigley gets to her shot, forget about it. From beyond the arc, the woman is 41.6%. People, please understand, this game tomorrow is going to be a defining game. Before you start watching the Buffalo Bills and LA Rams, you better check game 5 out of the WNBA semifinals between these two teams. Y'all already know I got Chicago winning this, going back to the finals. All right. Now that we got that out the way. What, Megan? Go ahead.
I will say I picked Chicago to the next round. I just don't think y'all get the chip this year.
All right. Well, that still remains to be seen, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But let's get to our next thing. Thank you for teeing that up for me. I do appreciate you so much. Because like I said, tomorrow night, so much going on. I got WNBA Game 5, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we roll right into the NFL season. It is the Buffalo Bills versus the LA Rams. Now, I know we got a couple things we need to talk about here, and we only got about 12 minutes left. So I'm going to give everybody a minute. And if you need it, take it. If you don't need it, don't take it. But I'm going to start with Mike, then John, then Megan, then myself. I need to know who you think is going to win NFL kickoff night tomorrow night between these two teams. Buffalo Bills, defending champ LA Rams. Mike Carratuno, you're up first, sir.
Well, I do think you couldn't ask for much of a better kickoff game. Obviously, the Rams won the Super Bowl, what Buffalo did last year and has done the last few years, and has become – look, I think they're just going to start the season off. We went through the schedule when we did the divisions, but Buffalo, I think, is going to start the season off with their hair on fire. Do I think the Rams are going to be really good? Yes. I know Sean McVay is 5-0 in his season openers, looking to go 6-0. But look, Josh Allen, I just think they're on a mission this year. Him and Stephon Diggs, like Eric says, and our Alex started it, but me, Eric, and Alex, who got Diggs? Because I don't care who's on the field. That boy's getting open. I know Dawson Knox got a contract extension today too. So he's going to be in Buffalo longer, and the tight end. It's just everything they have offensively. The running game needs to be a teeny bit better, but I'm going with Buffalo. I think it's obviously going to be a huge, star-studded night in LA, and they got their rings. It'll be the ceremony and all that good stuff. But I think the Bills win, man. It's a close game, but I say the Bills win by 7.
Look, the Bills went and got James Cook, which is a huge addition. Nobody's really talking about that, but they should. However, the Rams opening night Super Bowl champs, there's no way they lose this game. I get the Bills are going to have a nice year, Mike. I get it. You're all about the Bills. They might even be your favorite team at this point. I have no idea. You talk about them like you talk about, the Arizona Cardinals or you just talk about all these different teams. You have so many. How are you going to stop Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp? How are you going to stop Cam Akers? Like, there's so many stars on this team. Tre'Davious White isn't playing. So you don't have your best corner, and you got to go and stop Allen Robinson. And then Cooper Kupp out in the slot. I mean, I just don't see how you stop them. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Ultimately, the Rams win by 10. Ha 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 ha.
Well,
I actually have the Rams winning this one 27-24. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think that both teams are pretty evenly matched. White is not healthy yet for Buffalo, though, and then Levi Wallace is gone. But they did draft Kyer Elam, so I think that was an excellent pickup for them as well. Rams added Allen Robinson, like John brought up, so I feel like that's a big pickup for them. And then Stafford had 17 interceptions last season, which was the most. I think that was because he was predictable going to Cooper Kupp. Speaking of Cooper Kupp, like 145 receptions, almost 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. Like, I don't think he's going to have that type of season this year, but I think he's still going to be one of the top receivers, obviously. I think being at home is going to play a big factor in this game, and it being the ring ceremony game. So I think it's going to be really close. The Bills are probably going to look like the better team, but I think the Rams pull it out and come out on top by 3.
So I'm just going to let y'all know right now, my pick. I said this when we did their division, that I said this was their year. Who got Diggs is just something that, shout out to our man Mookie Hawkin and our brother Alex Fleming, because that's what they always talked about. But the one thing that no one on this panel mentioned was the fact that the Buffalo Bills went out and got Von Miller and brought Von Miller to Buffalo. Where did Von Miller play last year? Oh, that's right. He played with the Los Angeles Rams, led by Matthew Stafford, and they ultimately won a championship. So I'm just very surprised that we're neglecting the defense. Now, listen, defensively, there is arguably to some point no question. You have Aaron Donald, you have Jalen Ramsey. And Jalen Ramsey, as he has stated in his press conferences, he ain't hyping up nobody. Jalen Ramsey's going to go out there and do his thing. And that's great, fantastic, wonderful. I can't wait to see that matchup between him and Stephon Diggs. Matthew Stafford is playing with an injured elbow, so we got to see how he comes out of that. Josh Allen, I truly believe, is a man possessed. I said it before and I'll say it again. Buffalo is my pick to represent the AFC in this year's Super Bowl in Mike's backyard in Arizona. We'll see how it goes. All right, we've got about 8 minutes left here on this.
Andrew Whitworth retired too, right? Their dominant left tackle, he gone.
And this full Ray Lynn in the comments, whoever this Ray J. Lynn guy is, you know what? I've heard this all the time about how Stafford makes his receivers look elite, but yet now we talk about Allen Robinson, and Allen Robinson's not so good, but yet he made Marvin Jones look really, really good. Wow. Kind of contradictory, huh? Just saying, maybe this guy's talking out of both sides of his mouth.
All right. We've got about 7.5 minutes left. Let's get to some news and notes from around the sports world. Megan, I'm going to start with you, my dear. Give me some soccer news from around the world.
Well, Champions League started yesterday. It was match day 1 of 6. It was in the group stage. There are groups A through H. There's 4 teams per group. Tottenham won their game today. They won 2-0. Barcelona won 5-1. PSG won 2-1. Real Madrid won also 3-0. Then you get to Liverpool and Chelsea. Both of those teams lost, kind of indicative to what they have going on in the Premier League as well. Champions League is played on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and so we'll see them come back next week on Tuesday the 13th. Premier League is played Saturdays, Sundays, and some games on Monday. And in the Premier League, we got Arsenal at number 1, which is my most hated rival, but they look excellent. They look great. They are currently 5-1, no draws. And number 2, you got Man City, who are 4 wins, 2 draws, and they have to play Tottenham this Saturday. So a little nervous for this. We know what Man City is. Tottenham's at number 3. They have 4 wins, 2 draws. And then at number 4, you got Brighton, who are 4-1-1. And then at number 5, you got Man United. They have had some problems this season so far. It is early. Premier League is on week 7 of 38 currently. And then at number 6, you got Chelsea. Like I was talking about, they are having some problems this season so far. They have 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. At number 7, you have Liverpool, who is having a really tough time. They got 2 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. Then at number 8, you got Brentford. At number 9, you got Leeds United. And at number 10, you got Fulham. So soccer is in full swing, and we got World Cup coming up very soon as well.
John Shear, give me some baseball news, my brother.
I mean, we have to just continue to talk about this guy in New York named Aaron Judge. He hit number 55. He's 6 away from tying the all-time mark in a single season with 61, 7 away from breaking the record, because anything above that just doesn't count, because cheat sheet. So 7 away from breaking the all-time record in a single season. He's 6 away from tying Maris. Congratulations. You're probably going to do that. I don't want to see it, but it's coming. So 7 away, and he'll get there before the end of the season.
All right, let me go to my man, Mike Caratanudo. Mike, college football, baby. Talk to me.
Well, first, yes, I'll say congrats to John and his non-throwing, ridiculous quarterback. Florida did beat Utah. They held on for a win. But that's fine, because it wouldn't happen again. And that goes to my thing, the overreaction to everybody. I know Brian Kelly's getting crushed, LSU's performance, this and that. Florida State played a good game. It's hard for me, again, because everybody talks out of both sides of their mouths. Oh, Alabama looks so great. Okay, they played Utah State. Are you kidding me? They have Texas. They're 20-point favorites against Texas this week. It went up to 20 points today, which is ridiculous. We saw. I mean, again,
chill out.
No, it's ridiculous that they shouldn't be favored by that much over Texas. That's what I'm trying to say, Megan. I'm sticking up your horns. That being said, look, there's some awesome games this week. Oregon got blasted by Georgia because Dan Lanning decided not to slow it down, and Bo Nix is worthless, as anybody in the SEC knows. Ty Thompson should be starting for Oregon. Just my thoughts. But look, ASU did win. ASU's going to play the Pokes this week. They are going to Oklahoma State. That's going to be a huge game. But yeah, Pitt looked good last week too. I mean, know that West Virginia, a lot of just to get some old rivalry games back. But I really, really look forward to. I look forward to obviously the ASU game, but Texas Alabama. I don't think it's going to be a 20-point game. I don't think they cover that spread. But I'm terrible with spreads. But either way, Texas is going to be very, very fired up. They've been, Megan knows, they've been taking a little bit of a beating from even local media there with the way the last few seasons have went. But the team, yes, Georgia, look, they made a statement. They're national champs. Oregon, literally, Dan Lanning needs to go back to the drawing board there. I will say this, Eric, to wrap it up, selfishly as a Sun Devil fan, I really hope Dan Lanning keeps Bo Nix as the starter, because that will be very favorable for a lot of the rest of the conference. We won't have to worry about Oregon because they have talent on defense, even though I think Georgia scored again. I think they scored their first 7 drives. But it was an exciting weekend. I know Michigan fans are happy they won big. I'm pissed that Ohio State beat Notre Dame, and that Notre Dame could do nothing in the second half when they looked like the better team in the first half. And yeah, John, I don't care. Florida still sucks.
At least somebody won in the pack, right? I mean, somebody's got to win there. You tweeted out Oregon and Utah would win, and then they both lost. So go away. You know nothing about the pack. You tell me all this. Get out of here with your nonsense.
Okay, so Megan, you had something that you wanted to talk about before we wrapped up tonight, so I want to give you the floor, Queen of Hoops.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, speaking of Arizona State, I want to talk about Brianne January a little bit. She is a teammate of Sue Bird, who is also retiring this season, along with Sylvia Fowles. She was a 12-year pro. She's from Spokane, Washington, which we know is kind of a center for basketball there. She was picked 6th overall in 2009. She played majority of her career with the Indiana Fever, and she was a part of that championship team in 2012, along with Tamika Catchings. things. She played with the Phoenix Mercury from 18 to 19, and then she played for the Connecticut Sun from 20 to 21, and then she finished her career in Seattle. She went to the finals in 09 and 12 and 18 with the Mercury. So big shout out to her as well. She didn't quite have the same career as the other two, but definitely was known for her defensive play. She was a 6-time all defensive player. So shout out to her. Great career.
Yeah, and Megan, real quick, Eric, to add to that, she was the first Charlie Turner Thorne's first team, I think, to go to the Sweet 16. And that was, I think they went to the Elite Eight her senior year. But yeah, she was the first player to take him there. And she helped. She actually assisted on Coach Thorne's staff a few times. So yeah, forks up, baby. That's right, Megan. You rock that.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back Monday night during Monday Night Football. I know it's hard. You got to watch Monday Night Football, but you also got, the best 10 p.m. show Eastern on a Monday and Wednesday night, which is, of course, the Sports Arena, hosted by your man, Eric Wilson, co-hosted by my man, Ray Lynn. Shout out to our man, Ty Ray. Shout out to our Queen of Hoops, Megan Price. ASU, Forks Up, Mike Caratenuto, Left Coast to West Coast, and Sideline Sports Zone, Blue Hawks 13, John Shear. We will see you guys on Monday. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are under almost 20 hours to football is back, and we are so excited. See ya.
Awesome.